Tom Dupree's here, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General under George W. Bush. For an organization that is so concerned with ethics, why allow this appearance of partisan, not hackery, but partisan favoritism?
It is surprising, Leland, because you're absolutely right. The Justice Department holds itself out as the gold standard of impartiality. They are an apolitical organization focused solely on applying the law in a neutral and impartial way. But then at the same time, we've seen that there are prosecutors who are bringing not necessarily politically motivated, but at least politically charged prosecutions. And these prosecutors often have public connections to one party or the other. In this case, Democrats. They donate money. Almost always Democrats. Almost always statistically. Fair point. But nonetheless, and it causes people, I think, to just question the partiality. They say, look, if these people are so intent on signaling their affiliation with a political party and that it influences their donation history and that sort of thing, how can we have an assurance that it doesn't similarly influence their charging decisions, their decision whether to bring a case against someone or their decision not to bring a case against someone?
Help us understand how much power, I mean, Jack Smith, I guess, has ultimate power as a special counsel, but how much power and how much discretion do these prosecutors have?
They have an immense amount of discretion. I mean, to be sure, there is a very small top tier of cases, you know, Jack Smith-type cases, President Trump-type cases, where the attorney general or his deputy would be closely involved. But for 99.9% of the prosecutions that the Justice Department brings, the line prosecutors or the supervisors, kind of career employees, not necessarily political employees, appointees, they have immense power, immense discretion as to whether to bring a charge, and if so, what charges to pursue.
All right. DOJ political rules for what they call further restricted employees. So the Department of Justice realizes that the appearance of political influence or political bias is an important one to guard against. Register and vote as they choose. That's the right of every American. Fine. Assist in nonpartisan registration drives. Participate in campaigns where none of the candidates represent a political party. I guess like local mayor's races. Contribute money to political parties or partisan political groups. As a journalist, I don't contribute to anybody. Just because you don't want that appearance, it makes no sense to me. Is it because they want people to be able to signal political bias in order to get the larger political appointee jobs later on?
I'm sure that's what motivates some people to donate. And look, I think there are
If I donate to the Biden campaign, I might get a U.S. attorney job.
Exactly, or a federal judgeship, for example. But here's the thing. I think DOJ could do one of two things. One is it could just encourage prosecutors, or at least those who are involved in, you know, public corruption cases where they know they're going to be involved in the political thicket, right, to say to them, don't engage in overt political partisan activity, you know, campaign donations, running someone's campaign, that sort of thing. The other thing they could do is when they're staffing a case, they could at least try to ensure that the prosecutors they are putting on it aren't either open partisans, or at least if they aren't open partisan, maybe you try to balance it out a little if possible.
Right. Yeah, no, you think that you would keep that in mind. It seems so obvious what you are saying, and yet there seems kind of be a blinders to this issue. You hear so much about the loss of trust in institutions in America. At some point, you can't blame people when they see this. Have you heard any discussion? I know you're still plugged into DOJ of like, how do we put the genie back in the bottle here?
To be honest, I haven't. Wow. I don't think the Justice Department considers this particular aspect of it an enormous problem, which is perplexing considering that there's been so much debate about, say, Supreme Court ethics and making sure we don't have bias on the Supreme Court. Right. And you would think the Justice Department at some point might want to look in the mirror and say, hey, do we have an issue on our hands? Maybe we need to get our own house in order too.
Those with absolute power rarely look in the mirror.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Good to see you.
Thanks,
Tom. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.